My battery, low. This, low. This, low. That's what we call a consequence of our actions. I know I'm late, but I did do an April recap. It's just that I was sick, and I was thinking in my head, like, no, it would be funny if I was just chopping vegetables, doing my vegetable pancakes while I was sick. That would be really funny. But then I was watching it back, and I was like, nope, it's not giving the energy I wanted. So now, I'm here, and we're gonna have a yummy little egg sandwich together, and I'm gonna have some delicious little fries, and it's just gonna be a good time. For my journal, my list of everything that has occurred this month. Boy, is it a doozy. You are not prepared. So first things first, I need to tell you about the juiciest event that has occurred. Okay, so let me walk you through this from start to finish. I start off this semester. There's this girl in my class. She's 27 years old. She volunteered that information. 27 years old. And she, as an individual, does this thing where she like holds the floor and she shares information that's not super relevant, but she has to be super engaged and all of the attention must be on her, okay? So, this girl, she like, it's hit the point where most people in class, like she raises her hand or she speaks and most people are like, oh, not again, you know? Like that's the kind of situation, that's the culture of the classroom at this point, right? It's at the point where the professor pulls out this move. Let me do it for you. You know this move, right? Where they put the hand on the thing, and they cross the ankles, and then they tilt the chin up, like, because they want you to stop speaking. You know, like hand on the desk, ankles crossed, everything. She cannot read body language, or something. Or she chooses not to, or like the impulse is just way over. The impulse is just out of her hands, I don't know. But she does this thing, repeatedly, where she just is not contributing in a meaningful way, and contributing way too much, okay? So one day, we're like halfway through the semester, okay? I am on the other side of campus. I'm about to have my next class. I am minding my own business. I have my little drink. I have my little treat. I literally uncap my drink and I look to my left. She's there. And I'm like, oh no. And she comes over and she starts having a conversation with me, a conversation that, it just keeps on going even though I'm giving her literally nothing to work with. And I just like was really in the moment, I was like, you know what, I just want to see what happens. I just want to see what happens if I just give the bare minimum, right? And she told me all about like her family in Mexico and like all of like she gave me so much personal information. Like at one point she started like dancing and I was just like, who are you performing for? Who are you performing for? But anyway, so we're talking, right? And at one point, I'm like, okay, I need to let her know. I need to take one for the team. I need to see if I can help, like, change her behavior for the better. Actually, is lighting better this way? I don't know, whatever. But, like, I'm like, okay, I need to see if I can help her change her behavior for the better, right? I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to take one for the team. I'm going to do it. It's going to be fine. And I tell her, hey, you know, we're having this conversation and it's like 80% you and 20% me. Which is a lie. It was like 95% her and 5% me, but I really wanted to like just attempt to communicate like, you know, it's really imbalanced. And she decided to continue the conversation and she started asking me questions and I was like, okay, I can tell what she's trying to do and I'm just minding my own business, just, you know, minding my own, like, okay, I'm not minding my own business. But I decided to entertain her because I can tell that she's making an effort, right? And I can appreciate that. But I have to cut the conversation off because she keeps on going and I'm just like, I have class. Also, I arrived to class 10 minutes before. I was gonna eat my snacks and then go in. I was 10 minutes late. She held me in conversation for at least 20 minutes. And the whole time, she kept mentioning like this really important phone call that she had to make or was waiting on, and I was like, okay, that's cool, it's whatever. So that's the end of that, right? I'm like, okay, I have to go. And then I go. I end the conversation. I go to my class. I make it through, it's whatever. Smash cut, like 4 weeks later, okay? I arrived to class late, and what seems to be occurring is basically she pushed her luck that day. I don't know what she did, but I guess she kept talking over the professor or something, and at some point he told her straight up, like, you need to stop, okay? And she was not happy about that. What ended up occurring is she went back and forth with him for a second, Like nothing super serious, but he was like really trying to be like, listen, like I know you want to talk, but like right now is not the time. Someone else is sharing. I want to hear what this other person has to say. And she took it bad, okay? She took it bad. Like she walked out of the classroom bad, okay? And then a few minutes later, my professor, he probably felt guilty and he's like, should someone check? And we were all like silent. And then a dude from the back pipes up and he's like, she's an adult, which is true. But I have like a container of water that I need to clean. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna step outside and I'll see if I can find her. I don't find her. I dump out my water, I clean it, I go back to class. You start talking about salespeople, right? That's the topic for the day, sales. So I come back in and then we're still on the subject of sales, right? That's the topic for today. He is literally talking, okay? And what ends up occurring is she bursts through the door randomly and she's like, they got me. And of course the whole class is like, this is giving crash out, let's see what happens. And he's like, who got you? And she's like, the salespeople, a life coach got me. I was telling her about all of this different stuff. She saw me crying, blah, 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 blah. We're like, okay. And this is just a really awkward situation for everyone. So the situation's really awkward. And she keeps volunteering information. She's like, oh yeah, my professor doesn't know that today people were yelling at me. I'm blah, 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 panic attacks, blah, 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 blah. And you know, my professor, he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna de-escalate the situation. He's like, encourages her to just like, you know, get back in her seat. And then we go back to discussing the topics of the day. And I raise my hand. We're talking about something and it reminds me of this experience I had where it was this guy who, when you know too much, sometimes that can aggravate the client. Like the client will feel kind of like irritated by the amount of knowledge that you present to them, right? So he has historically purposely pretended not to know something and then emailed them later to answer the question as a bid to look humble, right? Because he was reading the room. And the reading the room phrase must have done something. It must have ticked her off because you won't. So she raises her hand and she says, a few weeks ago. Yeah, that's where we're going. Yeah. She says, a few weeks ago, I had a conversation with Mar, and Mar said that when I speak to people, it's 80% me and like 20% the other person, and honestly, I was really offended to hear that. But Mar is so great. Like, Mar knows how to read the room. Mar is so smart. When I tell you, I was sitting there just feeling so uncomfortable and incensed and frustrated because I just think it was wildly inappropriate. But also, what was the goal? What was the reason? Why did you do that? And what is so painful is that when I spoke to her, my goal was to hammer in this idea of being mindful. You know, I danced around it because nobody wants to hear, oh, you're annoying, right? Like when someone is oversharing and doing this and doing that, like, you have to be gentle, right? Because it has to do with expression, it has to do with ego. So my goal was to be like, hey, you know, like be mindful when you're like having a conversation or a discussion, you know, like make sure there's a little bit of balance, you know? No good deed goes unpunished. So, of course, she finishes speaking. The whole classroom is in the middle of this moment where it's like, she's broken so many unspoken rules in this moment that it's just like, how do we proceed? Like everyone's frozen. They're like, Like, it's not just education anymore. It's education and a show. My instinct is to just nip it in the bud and be like, hey, do you want to talk? And she said, yes. And I said, cool, let's go outside right now. And my professor leapt forward and he was like, nope, do it after class. And I was like, okay. So I go up to her after class, and she's immediately like, actually, no, I need to speak to the professor. I can't talk to you. I'm sorry, I forgot. And I'm like, okay. She's like, can I get your Instagram though? And I'm like, absolutely not. No, why would I do that? Why would I give you my Instagram? And I'm like, no, if you need to contact me through Canvas. I'm not giving you my Instagram for obvious reasons. Like, why would I give my Instagram to this person specifically? Like, it's just not gonna happen. I don't vibe with her. I don't want to have that connection with her. I just don't want to. I don't want to. And then, because several people in that class go to the next class with me, I ended up having to hold a little sermon outside. Is that a squirrel? I love squirrels. No, it was just a leaf. I'm sad. But like, I ended up having to hold a sermon outside of my next class where I was just explaining to everyone, recounting like what led up to it, explaining like, yeah, no, this is the situation. And everyone was like, I cannot believe she did that. That was so not right. Like, if she had an issue with you, she should have brought that up in private. Like, what was the goal? And I'm like, what was the reason? Like, literally everyone I spoke to was like, that was not right. That was not right. And I was supposed to meet with a friend at our usual meeting spot after class, but I forgot in the moment. And as I was recounting my story to like these people, right? My professor, who's usually a little bit like early, he's usually early. Actually, you know what? My professor, who is completely unpredictable, he like walks by and I do a little, like, you know, just a little gesture of like, hi, I see you, I acknowledge you, while I'm trying to recount the details of everything that happened leading up to why she did that in class. And he goes into class, and our classroom is designed in such a way that when you walk in, there's a line of desks and you have to walk parallel to the wall, right? It's a really, like you walk in and you're at the back of the class, right? So you have to walk all the way down to get anywhere comfortable. So I walked into class, okay? I walked into class after giving all of the details to everyone, and I found my professor literally just perched by the door, and I was like, do you want the tea? Like, I wasn't gonna give it to him, but I was like, I think you were eavesdropping. So, which is really funny, because I would love to regale, I would love to give the knowledge to this professor specifically, because he has such unhinged comments sometimes, and I'm there for it, you know? So, this dude, I think may have been eavesdropping on the drama that unfolded from previous class, and at this point it feels like a contagion. I'm like, oh my god, like everyone is finding out, like this sucks. And then I remember, oh my gosh, my friend texted me, we're supposed to meet at our meeting spot outside during this class. Thankfully, I had the ability to leave because it was an oral panel for other people, so I was just there to get information. But I leave, I go outside, I find my friend. She is in a semicircle with like 4 other people and the professor discussing the events that transpired. One of the girls said that was completely unprovoked, and honestly, that is the completely correct use of that word. It was unprovoked. It was unprovoked, and everything I told her was specifically to make sure she didn't find herself in a situation like that where she ran her mouth and then like put herself in this like alienated state in front of a bunch of people. Clearly, my good intention did not work. It didn't work. It just didn't work. And you know what? What am I to do? Like, I don't know. No good deed goes unpunished or whatever. But what was so like frustrating is that my professor was like, yeah, in the moment, I'm pretty sure that everyone like pitied you. Like, you're not the one in the wrong. I'm like, I don't want to be pitied. Like, that doesn't bring me comfort, because she still put me on the spot for no reason. You know, she created this conflict, and now every class is gonna be this weird situation where it's like me versus her for no reason. And like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's just such an unfortunate and frustrating like turn of events. It was just such a weird situation, but it definitely made my semester more interesting. So cool. And then I went back to the oral panel and my friend and I, we had questions for the professor, and he looked up at me and he was like, so how was your day? And I was like, I run my mouth a lot, and I'm trying not to run my mouth a lot, because I had already like I'm learning not to run my mouth too much, because there was this girl who was a TA, and in his class specifically, I kind of slammed her. I slammed her, and he definitely picked up on it, and he was judging me when I did that. So I was like, I don't want, hi Crow, or Raven? Crow, you're a crow, you're little. The children are in danger, but they're not my children. I'm on the bench. So, look at what I have done. Fidgeting, love it. Basically, so yeah, like there's and what's really unfortunate is that like it's May now. Oh my god, I'm so late on this, but it's like May now, and she is continuing to kind of have these moments where like she just puts people in uncomfortable positions, and there's no way for us to like really address that in a meaningful way without like having an entire class session, you know what I mean? So that was just a situation that unfolded. Now on to the random stuff. My friend and I made LAUSD coffee cake. It came out incredible. It was awesome. One of the most delicious things I've ever baked. We also watched Ice Age. That was very nice. Ice Age is low-key like an iconic movie. I love it. My landlord may be in trouble. Very excited about that. Oh, I nearly got run over. And it was so dumb. So picture this, you're on a sidewalk. Oh my god, there are so many. You know what? If I eat nature things, screw it. I don't care. There's a lot of little things like flying through the air. Where was I? Oh, I nearly got run over. So basically, picture this. Regular sidewalk, brick road, blocking your view of a parking lot. The safe decision is to hop off the e-scooter, because I had my e-scooter. So I hop off my e-scooter, because I know this road is crazy, and I know that there's a mechanic shop there. So I'm like, you know what, safest course of action whenever I'm here, just walk it. Just walk it, it's not that far. So I stop, I peek over, there's a car. The car is parked, it's not moving. I wait a second, it's not moving. I don't see any movements from the driver's section. I don't see any movements from the driver's seat. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna walk. So I walk my little e-scooter. The moment I am behind the car, fully behind the car, okay, he starts backing up. I had to do a little sprint. I had to skip for my life with an e-scooter. I hope that man is haunted. I'm behind the car and it's backing up on me, and this dude from across the parking lot, he's seeing what's happening and he starts yelling because he's scared for me, because he thinks I'm about to get like run over, like actually run over. Thankfully I did not get hurt. And he comes over and he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, you know, I got adrenaline in my system. I can't believe that nearly happened. I'm like, yes, I'm fine. And he's like, I'm gonna go over and talk to them. And I'm like, okay, you do that. And then for some reason, a little voice in my head is like, run. So I run. I hop on my little e-scooter. I cross the intersection. I get away from there. I go home. I just decided, you know what? I don't want to deal. I don't want to deal with this whole situation, okay? I nearly got run over, but I did not get run over. He's probably haunted. I'm definitely haunted. I don't know. So, you know, I just nipped it in the bud. I was like, you know what? We're just not gonna follow through. There's no ending, no closure. I'm not getting it. We're leaving, okay? So I nearly got run over. And that was not fun. I decided to book a 32-hour train trip in June. I'm really excited because I'm a writer, so I'm just ready to zone out and just like live off of like chocolate covered almonds and pumpkin seeds and like nature bars for 2 days just to make it through the trip. Like, I need it. I'm so excited. I genuinely think a 32-hour train ride will fix me. It's gonna go up to Seattle, and I'm excited. I'm really excited. I did my oral panel for class. I reconnected with an old professor who was also a writer. So that's very cool, and I'm very excited about that. What else? I finished Sunrise on the Reaping. It made me cry a lot toward the end. I think it was solid. Like, it's definitely, I don't know, it almost feels fan fiction-y. but I appreciate insight into like the lives of the characters and more context as to just their existence, you know? I like that. And then I watched Casablanca. I have a lot of feelings about Casablanca. White people get blown up and displaced and live in fear with no recourse, and everyone is like, oh my god, how horrible, how terrible, this is so sad. But then it happens to brown and black people, and the world is like, yeah, it be happening. Maybe, does it have something to do with the idea of like, so, a squirrel, I hope you approach, buddy. But like, it might have something to do with the idea of like, oh yeah, I mean, it just kind of comes down to, I think, cognitive dissonance and a little bit of racism, but I don't know, I'm just thinking about it and I'm like, is it because like white people are associated with like being in a particular way of living, so it's like sad when they go further down, but like brown and black people are associated with a particular way of living and they're getting displaced to a better zone, so it's like this weird inverse attitude. I don't know, but Casablanca was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. It was so good. I enjoyed it. Another thing, I'm doing press-ons now. I like press-ons. Unfortunately, I have not figured out how to make them work for me super well. I've had to reattach them so many times, and it's really unfortunate. But oh well. I do not recall if it was this month or April, but I tried to befriend somebody in one of my courses, and it was so unfortunate because we were hitting it off. I shared a short story and everything. But what ended up occurring is she kept making homophobic remarks in her stories, and I was like, oh, I simply will not associate with you. And you're probably thinking, oh, how do you know that she wasn't just making like a joke with her friends or something? Because you can tell. So I blocked her. And I may have to see her today, which is, you know, not ideal, but not the worst thing in the world. I just don't know what I'm gonna say to her. If she brings it up, she probably won't. But if she does, I'm probably gonna be like, yeah, I just really didn't vibe with some of the things that you said and don't really want to like keep in touch like that anymore with the knowledge that I have. So I gotta stay classy-ish. This is so good. I wonder if they use like QP mayo. I think that's what it's called. I'm thinking about getting a balayage, I don't know. But I'm thinking about it. Because I want to be cute. And my crisis is that I wear a lot of black. And as you can see, my hair is very dark. It's not black, but it's brown. And it like blends into my clothing a lot, and I don't want that anymore. I want a little more contrast, so I'm thinking of getting like caramel highlights just to really make it pop, you know? I think that's basically everything. That is everything I can think about. I hope you enjoyed my little recap. It's been nice. Bye.